Welcome everybody back to another episode of the Cover 2, presented by Tigervision, Grayson Mann. With me as always, I'm Patrick Neal. I believe it's episode 15 now.
Let's go, 15.
Yeah, 15. Another solid number divisible by 3 and 5.
We all right. To clarify, we were talking about math for like 10 minutes before we started.
We got math on the brain. We were talking about pie and stuff. But anyways, while there was not too much college football news this weekend, we did have a lot of NFL, so we'll be covering playoffs today. One of us is a little bit more happy than the other. You might be able to tell who it is. It's me. I'm happy because the Bengals won, but Grayson, not so much as our resident Patriots fan.
At least it snowed this weekend.
It was nice.
It was a nice distraction from
It did snow in Clemson. Well, maybe not actually. It might remind you of
the cold.
Yeah, of the cold.
Josh
in
Allen.
Buffalo. Josh Allen doing the impossible, basically. Yeah. But I guess we'll just go ahead and start in order of how the games were played. You have the Bengals Bengals at home beating the Raiders 26-19. I think, wow, it was quite the game. It was one of the better games on the weekend. I mean, a lot of the playoff games this weekend were a little bit underwhelming. I think it's pretty safe to say. But, this one started the weekend off very, very well. Unfortunately, I think the refs were a little bit more of a storyline than they probably wanted to be. Maybe not. Maybe Jerome Boger wanted to be the headline.
Maybe.
But unfortunately, he will be sitting on his couch the rest of the playoffs with the Raiders because he is not reffing any more games.
Yeah, that was a tough one, especially when you look at it. The first time I watched it, and I said, oh, okay, I see why he was making that early whistle. And the talk for like the last couple weeks in the NFL has been the officiating and how poorly it's been this year, especially this year. I feel like every year there's always complaints about the referees, but this year especially it's been very, very contentious. And then you have that it's 6 points, it's a 7-point swing basically that the refs gave away to Cincinnati. And now Bengals fans won't be complaining, and Raiders fans, they have bulletin board material for the offseason. But in other parts of the game, it was more about Derek Carr and this emotionally charged Raiders team. That unbelievable year based on what they've gone through with Ruggs, Gruden. The fact that they were even here was an achievement on its own. And of course, you had to add more drama to it. Came down to the last play of the game. I just think that if you're a Raiders fan, you have nothing really to complain about because this is a year where so much has happened, but you're able to go to the playoffs, which not many teams can say for.
I mean, Rich, how do you pronounce his last name? Bisaccia?
Yeah.
Bisaccia? If I'm saying that wrong, I'm sorry. But he looks like, or I think he should be the Raiders' next head coach. It's pretty safe to say.
Absolutely.
Like being able to, after this, everything that's happened for the Raiders this year, with Henry Ruggs, with Damon Arnett, with even like John Madden passing away, the Raiders were still able to weather the storm and get into the playoffs, which a lot of people did not see coming. And, I think it was a pretty good season overall for the Raiders. It's pretty safe to say. Now, on the Bengals side, is there a cooler person in the NFL than Joe Burrow? Like, a lot of people are riding his hype right now. But, like, in all honesty, is there a swaggier player than Joe Burrow?
Joe Burr, Joe, like, Shiesty, like, whatever nicknames you guys have for Joe Burrow. But he looked like he'd been there a million times. I think with all the anticipation of this kind of game, especially with Cincinnati, where the meme has always been Cincinnati fans have been able to send a text message about winning a playoff game because it's been that long.
I sent a text message.
Oh, I know you did.
Right as the game expired.
But he was 24, 34, 244 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was efficient. He took care of the football. And something I said before, because we wanted to actually look at that clip with the Raiders and the refs, is that Joe Burrow's escapability in the pocket is so underrated. The way he doesn't look like he's a guy that can like move around pretty quickly, but in the pocket,
especially with his knee,
he's shifty. He's very shifty.
Yeah. And I think he just really wanted his cigar at the end. This man loves cigars. Like, I don't know. It might become an issue maybe later on in his life, but
oh boy.
It was a very, very good game for the Bengals and for Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. I kind of thought that the Raiders would kind of try and shut down Jamar Chase and make the rest of the weapons that the Bengals have do all the work. But, he had a lot of targets. He probably had, 8 to 10 catches probably?
I believe it was 8 catches for about over 100 yards. He was, every snap he plays, it seems like that pick. And I said it in the offseason that they made the completely wrong choice.
Oh, yeah. I thought they should have gone
I thought
tackle.
they were going for style instead of substance, instead of getting Penei Sewell and getting Burrow protection, especially if you just take a look at the Bengals games last year. Burrow got killed, but adding that comfortable wide receiver that he's been very familiar with for the last couple of years in Jamar Chase, it's clearly paid off, and they're off to the divisional round.
Yeah, I guess we all should have thought that would be a good idea to hook up Joe Burrow with his former teammate that he won a national championship with.
Yeah.
And
seems like a no-brainer. It seems too simple in that.
Yeah,
and with hindsight, it seems like the
hindsight
obvious.
is 2020.
Yeah.
But fair enough for the Bengals. They got to play Tennessee this upcoming weekend, and I think a lot of people are probably going to say that the Bengals are like that they think the Bengals will win, but Tennessee's getting back Derrick Henry, which is an issue for any team, especially the Bengals. The Bengals are also, they had Larry Ogunjobi get injured, and he won't be playing, a key defensive tackle. And when you have to stop Derrick Henry,
you need those tackles.
People that need to be able to do that. And so I think for whatever reason, I think Tennessee is probably going to be favored by Vegas, but I think a lot of people think the Bengals are going to win and kind of like their Cinderella story. But I would not say that Tennessee is an easy out by any means.
No, Tennessee's a fantastic team. They have Mike Vrabel's been able to do all season with, especially this team as well. Like the Raiders in Tennessee, it's not really comparable, but Tennessee's gone through so many injuries on defense and offense. Julio Jones hasn't worked out like they thought it would, and what Ryan Tannehill and they been able to do, go 11-6, or I think it's 12-5. They would get that number 1 seed. It's pretty miraculous. They're going to have a lot of those fans. It's a very loyal fan base.
Oh,
those guys will go. The Tennessee fans will come out, and it should be a really good game.
Yeah, for sure. Now, if we want to transition from one AFC game to another,
I don't want
to. The last game on Saturday night, Bills kind of smoked the Patriots. I'm not going to lie, 47-17. The storyline going in the game is that Josh Allen can't play in the cold, and
it wasn't a storyline; it was data.
Yeah,
there were some stats to back it up.
I think it is pretty clearly false that he cannot play in the cold. The Bills put up statistically like the best offensive game you can have possible. They scored on pretty much every single drive except I think the last one where they just kneeled it out. But it's the first time that a team has had no field goals, punts, or turnovers in a game, which also doing that against one of the best defensive coaches of all time, maybe the best defensive coach of all time, that's pretty impressive. And I don't even know. It was crazy to watch.
So in Week 16, Buffalo traveled to New England, and it was basically for the AFC East because New England had come down to Buffalo in that windy Monday Night Football circus show.
The one where Mac Jones threw passes?
Yes. So Buffalo, for the last 2 games against the Patriots, they have not punted the ball once. Believe that.
Wow. That's whack.
And Josh Allen has had 2 out-of-body experiences where he is just going nuts, going ballistic. So feeling my pain that I put down, this is America's 21-year dream. This is my worst nightmare. But for Allen, this is going to be the game. This is going to be very much a litmus test for how emotionally mature this team is. Because this could be like their Super Bowl. Because this is 20 years of just anger and frustration taken out on this team for sure. I know like Buffalo fans are feeling it, especially Bills players that have been on that roster for a long time. This was a thing that wasn't a long time coming. They wanted this really badly. Can they go into Kansas City next week against a really experienced, mature team and be able to put that in the past, say, all right, we've taken care of business in Buffalo. We need to be able to handle Mahomes. But if Allen keeps playing like he did, I don't see anybody that can really stop him.
Yeah, I think if you want to compare it a little bit to the college football side, you can compare it to like Michigan. Had not beaten Ohio State in, 11 years? Yeah, something like that, 10, 11 years. They go in, beat Ohio State, win the Big Ten championship, and then they go in. Everybody had questions about how they were going to play against Georgia because, whether they had the right motivation or not. And Bills clearly put it on the Patriots, but we're wondering now, are they going to be as hot as they were offensively against Kansas City?
It's tough to repeat that.
Yeah, it really is tough to repeat it. I mean, it's really never been done before, their offensive play. But, it should be a really, really good game next week.
Sure.
And I think a lot of people will be kind of like the Bengals riding the hype of the Bills.
Not me. I refuse.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but
Alrighty, let's move on to Tampa Bay and Philadelphia. This was another one of those duds where it just looked like business for Brady. This is one of his first wildcard games since 2019, where he was actually on the Patriots and they played Tennessee. So you can see all of these teams kind of move around and shuffle. But I love where you put here bold strategy for Jalen Hurts to not target Devonta Smith. This was 31-15. If you didn't watch the game, especially if you're in the Clemson area because of the snow, you're like, oh, the Eagles kept it close. This is not the case. This was a beatdown. This was a Eagles team that had not beaten a playoff team all year. I believe a team of 500 all year. Where this was just an overmatching. Brady just took care of business. Rager was acting like Aguilar. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Yeah, the saying's now going to become like the classic meme is like we was catching him unlike Rager now, I guess, and instead of Aguilar. But
Aguilar.
Kind of like you were saying, it is interesting strategy by Jalen Hurts and the Eagles to not target their best receiver pretty much all game. I mean, you had Goddard who had 8 catches or so, but Devontae Smith had 4 catches and not very many targets, and it was just Jalen Hurts and the Eagles offense just stalling out drive after drive, and he did all right rushing the ball, but it was a little inconsistent passing. They brought it back a little bit closer towards the end of the game, but it was never really that close. Brady pretty much had a bye, in all honesty. And, Tampa Bay, I think, has got to go in and play the Rams next week.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting.
That should be a good game because the Rams are hot as well.
Let's save that Tampa LA Rams preview for when we get to
But
their beat down.
Yeah. Tampa pretty much got a bye. I think, in all honesty, that's pretty much what we can narrow everything down to.
They did get that. Brady got his redemption. Did you see his TikTok where he?
I did not see his TikTok.
So Jalen Hurts threw a ball out of bounds and Brady caught it. So he made
the end of the drive.
Goes, hey guys, I can catch footballs against the Eagles.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
It was very creative on his part.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, I guess he got his redemption. But Tampa does have a lot of injuries, especially on their offensive weapons, kind of the side of the ball. You have Godwin out for the year. You have Ronald Jones and Fournette.
They're
back.
I think
Fournette
they're
was
back
a game time decision.
Yeah, I think they're going to be back next week, but they're very much hobbled.
Yeah, and then you also have, of course, Antonio Brown not on the team anymore.
He's out due to insanity.
Yeah, he's out due to something. But
oh boy,
I actually think he had a little bit of validity there with as the reports came out that he had some ankle injury and Bruce Arians was maybe forcing him to go into the game or something. I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever get the full story.
And with Antonio Brown's track record, like, what do we really?
Yeah.
And also,
this is very true.
if you have an ankle injury, you can't be going afterwards, taking off your shirt and stuff, and then bouncing up and down on said ankle.
Did you see where he contemplated just taking off his pants too?
Wait, what?
He got interviewed by.
Was it Full Send with Bob Menery?
Yes, I think it was that podcast.
I listened to about 2 minutes of it.
Where he contemplated taking his pants off. And just mooning everybody in the Eagles stadium.
I can hear Troy Aikman now. That is a disgusting act by Randy Moss.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, kind of from one meme to another, Nickelodeon cast
Yay!
was awesome.
I love Nickelodeon.
Did you watch the normal cast or the Nickelodeon cast?
I watched the normal cast, but I saw everything that I needed to see on social media the next day.
Oh, I watched the Nickelodeon cast and it was awesome. Young Dylan, on the sidelines, interviewing Debo after the game. Solid job from young Dylan.
Pretty hype.
He's like 10 or something. I don't know, but he was pretty cool. I enjoyed his presence. You got the slime monster coming out of nowhere. You don't know when it was coming out. You got SpongeBob and Patrick in the field goals. I didn't like their field goal angle because it was kind of hard to see if it went in or not. But I guess that's why you have Patrick and SpongeBob there to let you know. But anyways, a little bit about the game. 49ers, I feel like the scores, I feel like, isn't really representative of what the game was. Like, I feel like the 49ers were kind of in control for the majority of the game.
Yeah, this game was very wacky. Dallas has this really fun knack of getting down by a lot of points and then bringing your hopes back up only to break your heart at the last second. It was a classic Cowboys playoff formula.
Oh, yeah. maybe the world is healing. The Cowboys are losing playoff games and choking.
This is like they have like this ingredients that you have to add in, like expectations. You drop it in there. Then you get a
Talented
giant lead.
roster.
Drop it in there. Then you get a massive lead you have to overcome. Drop it in there. Controversy. Drop it in there. And what do you have? Memes for the entire year of 2022.
And everybody against the Cowboys.
Oh, it's great. I feel bad for Cowboys fans a little bit because this is just painful at this point. Like some of those guys are basically need therapy after 25 years of this.
Yeah, this is a tough one for Lakers and Yankees fans as well. But you know, seeing Dak get the MVP at the end of the game
That's so stupid.
with like 81% of the votes.
Give it to
like,
Debo.
No. I want to see Dak get the MVP. I don't know if they ever showed him getting it.
I don't think he wants it.
But it could not have been funnier. Like I'm assuming everybody that was voting is people like our age.
Oh yeah, they're just doing
who's
it.
just giving it to whoever's losing.
Well, Mitch Trubisky won it last year.
Yeah, exactly. But seeing Dak lose the way he did, and then proceed to get the MVP, I wish they had showed him getting slimed.
I don't think they he probably just gives him like a stare down. They're like, I don't think.
Oh,
he
that
wants
would be so funny. But you know, Mike McCarthy, I think there is some questions probably regarding his job safety after this one. I mean, Dallas legitimately has one of the most talented rosters in the league, and you know, kind of year in and year out, they
have nothing to show for it.
Yeah, they have first round playoff exits or not even making it to the playoffs.
You go 12-5 with the Cowboys, and 6 of those wins is against the NFC East. 2 of those, which you could say, oh, it's the Eagles are a playoff team. Well, you saw how good that playoff team was against Tampa Bay on Sunday. For Dallas, going with the roster that you have, all the expectations, the thing that strikes me the most is that they tied the postseason record for most penalties in a game with 15.
Yeah, that was crazy.
They had drive killers.
You can't be doing that in a playoff game.
Drive extenders. There was that one where Randy Gregory thought he was in the WWE and gave that dude a bear hug.
I don't know what he was
When they
doing.
had him stop for a third down, that added another minute 40 to the clock. So when you come down to that controversial QB draw, which I don't get that either, you don't have that time to be able to spike the ball and get another shot.
McCarthy said that they had been practicing that play, and like if they were able to get a playoff, it was a very smart play.
Yeah.
I think in that case though, you have to. I mean, you got to be aware of where the ref is. Like he obviously isn't going to be keeping up with Dak.
Yeah.
But
he's got a lot to look at.
If you give him the ball, hand it to him, then set up, maybe they get a playoff. But also, I have a question. Why don't they put Trayvon Diggs at safety? Like I know Dallas doesn't have the deepest cornerback roster, but there were plenty of plays where Trayvon Diggs was kind of getting burned trying to jump routes, and it's happened to him all season. I mean, I believe he's given up the most yards out of any cornerback. He's given up over 1,000 yards. So or even just put him in zone, you know, allow him to jump those routes. I don't see why Dallas doesn't do that.
Yeah, because you can see a lot of those. Why he has so many interceptions this year is that it's like a 50-50 thing. Mm-hmm. You have, especially on like certain intermediate routes, like the slants and the ends and all those cuts. So on the film, Deebo Samuel and like the IU route where he ran that in and then
absolutely
Diggs bites it and then he just whoop.
Yeah. There's a solid amount of compilations of Trayvon Diggs just getting burned.
Yes.
Me and my roommates were watching them. It was pretty hilarious.
Decoy.
Yeah, what is stopping Dallas from, you know, maybe getting a cornerback in this year's draft and then proceeding to move Trayvon Diggs to safety?
I don't know. Maybe it's like a coverage thing, or I don't know. Because that seems like a reasonable idea because he jumps a lot. That's what safeties do. They jump those routes.
Exactly.
They support.
I feel like he could be a very, very decent safety.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he was originally a wide receiver coming out of high school.
So he understands the tendencies and stuff like that.
Exactly,
So.
which is maybe why he's gotten so many interceptions. But it's such a 50-50 thing. I don't know if there's a big debate about what you prefer. Do you prefer a lockdown corner or do you prefer somebody who's forcing turnovers?
Yeah, ideally you get the best of both worlds, but I honestly would prefer a lockdown, just shutting down that entire side of the field.
I think so as well.
Like a Ramsey.
Yeah, because occasionally they are getting interceptions as well.
But being able to, like an offensive coordinator can't sleep at night when he knows half of his field is locked off because Jalen Ramsey's taken up.
Exactly.
And he's dominating that entire presence. But I think before we move on to the next game, one thing that I really wanted to strike attention to was Jimmy Garoppolo. This postseason is his audition for other teams because they're going to move on from him. They're going to have Trey Lance be the starter next year, regardless of how things went. Yeah. They are going to stick with him. Now, there's this debate if Garoppolo leads them on this magical run. Does he keep the 49ers job because Aaron Rodgers sat out for that time, but depends on the owners, the patience. But for Garoppolo, this is very much an audition for not just the 49ers, but for other teams who are willing to get that value, see what trades they could potentially strike up. And he was fine, but a win in Green Bay would do wonders for him in terms of his career.
For sure. He was able to get the ball to San Francisco's playmakers, which I think is important.
I would love to see Jimmy G on like the Steelers or something. Just run the football, take care of it.
But watching Debo, man, is so much fun to watch. The way San Francisco and Kyle Shanahan use him, so much fun to watch.
Should be an interesting matchup because the San Francisco 49ers historically give Green Bay fits.
Yeah. I mean, Kyle Shanahan is going to give anybody fits for the most part.
For sure.
But yeah, it was a good win by the 49ers. So looking forward to them playing Green Bay. But we want to get on to, this was the late night game on Sunday night. Chiefs, it was Big Ben's supposed last game. They pretty much rout the Steelers. It wasn't really ever that close.
It was for like a quarter and a half, and then the Chiefs.
Yeah, actually, sorry.
Chiefs woke up.
That's false. That's false. The Steelers were able to hold Chiefs scoreless for an entire quarter. They were even up on the Chiefs when T.J. Watt got a touchdown.
Yeah, but the Steelers' offense is archaically bad. It's so bad.
It is so bad. I mean, like, you look at Big Ben's stats, 29 for 44, 215 passing yards, and 2 touchdowns. And it's like, okay, that's not that bad. Then you watch them, and Big Ben has a QBR of 15. Like, that's awful.
Nice little 15.
It's really, really not great.
I'm just seeing this now. Deontay Dropson, that has got that.
Dude,
good job.
He was so frustrating.
No, there was 2 third downs where he could have extended he could have given the Steelers a lot of, because in space he's very good, but he just can't, he's got butterfingers. He
is great at football when you don't need to catch the ball, if that makes sense. Like,
they give him like a jet sweep.
Like if we played air football, you play like air guitar, Deontay Johnson would be the best player at it in the league. But if we ever we require a ball to play football.
If we have a lack of like content in the off season, we will do the air football draft, and he will for sure be.
Yeah, he would be the number 1 pick for sure.
That and Tim Tebow, because like you get like go down there, pray, you have like the power. He just brings that energy. So as long as he doesn't have the football in his hands, great teammate.
Yeah, that is very, very true.
This is how bad the Chiefs and Steelers game was. We're talking about Tim Tebow.
Maybe the Steelers could use him at QB. Potentially, like he might be a better option than Big Ben at this point. In all honesty.
Yeah, but that's definitely going to be Big Ben's final game.
Yeah. The Chiefs were getting very creative this game.
Yeah,
you had Kelsey with a touchdown.
When they get up, Andy Reid just like flips over the page in his playbook, and he's like, all right, what can I do today that's going to be fun? And he's like, all right, Travis, go out there and play quarterback. Or I love I know I can't stand the Chiefs at sometimes, but I love those little shovel passes in the end zone.
Oh, yeah. It happens once a game.
Yeah.
You just like, hey, Tyreek, just stand there for a second, wait for the Steelers, to shift just a little bit, underhand pass, and run straight into the end zone. It's
Tyreek,
so easy.
Count to 3 and look for the ball.
Yeah, it's so easy for them. But they're going to have to come out with a pretty creative game plan next week when they play the Bills.
They're right now. That should be out of all the games next week, that probably will be the highest scoring game in my mind.
Probably.
But as expectations, I don't want to get disappointed and have the Bills lose. Oh, that'd be terrible.
Oh.
Man, it would stink if they lost. It really would.
Does that make the Patriots look worse though?
I don't care at this point. They're out of the playoffs, so they can't bring me down any worse than they did on Saturday.
Question: do the Patriots fire Bill Belichick? That was such a pathetic performance.
You're sounding like my roommates now.
I feel like the Patriots might have to get rid of Bill Belichick.
You're sounding like the average Instagram user on like NFL memes.
Let's make that like the thumbnail for this episode.
No.
Can we put it like, do the Patriots need to fire Bill Belichick? Question mark.
And just like my face.
5 exclamation points. Make it clickbaity. Maybe that'll get a few more views.
How many arrows can we fit on a one screen that are red?
That would be. It might get some clicks, dude. If what else can we say?
Free.
What else is clickbaity that we could use?
Tom Brady going back to New England, Belichick in danger.
Oh.
Arrows.
Do
free
the
V-Bucks.
Rams need to play Odell at quarterback from now on to avoid mistakes? You know, the Giants and Browns could probably use him at quarterback, in all honesty, right now. Like, the Browns have issues at quarterback. Giants kind of have issues at quarterback. Odell, my roommate told me this stat. I guess we'll shift kind of to the Rams and Cardinals now. But I can't remember how long it's been, but he, like, over the past, how long has he been playing for? Like,
He's been in the league since 2014.
okay, so, like, I guess since he's been in the league, he leads the league in, what's the stat? He leads the league in, like, highest yardage attempted per pass with minimum of, like, 5 attempts. So, like,
QB1.
yeah, exactly. In all honesty, the Giants could really use him at quarterback right now. The Browns could definitely use him at quarterback right now.
Especially when Baker is really hurt and he's in that little cycle of he's beaten the inferior team, so when they go play the really good team, just get Odell in there.
Mm-hmm.
Baker's at his best when he's playing the Bengals.
And Odell would be able to throw it to himself.
That's right. I mean,
he'd have all the targets in the world.
we've seen crazier things.
Yeah, but in all honesty, he was kind of better than Kyler this game.
This was not a good look for Arizona. And every year for Arizona with Cliff Kingsbury, and I say it a lot on to my friends and on different stuff, but the Cardinals have this tendency, especially with Kingsbury the last 3 years with this offense. First 8 games, you can almost guarantee they'll be super explosive. Teams will know how to stop them, and then they have their bye week, and then they get figured out, and then it's just
Straight down.
Straight
down. Yeah.
It is a cycle you can very much easily predict, and for this game, especially not having DeAndre Hopkins, it really hurts.
It really does hurt. Yeah, you can rely on 3 things in life: death, taxes, and the Cardinals losing their minds after Week 10.
It's true.
And the Cowboys losing playoff games. That you can rely on.
Never forget, guys, the Cowboys did indeed lose a playoff game in 2022.
They did. But I think the Rams played very, very well. Matt Stafford had a very, very good game. Didn't really make too many boneheaded plays that he's kind of had the past couple of weeks. And they did this all. They beat the Cardinals without really utilizing Cooper Kupp. He was a relative non-factor for pretty much the entire game. I mean, he had a touchdown, and they kind of gave him the ball late in the third and fourth quarter. But for the majority of the game, he had 2 catches.
Yeah, and for the Rams, it was very much it was almost them taking their business. They knew they had the superior roster, and the amount of pressure that Kyler Murray was facing all night. I know that he didn't play very well, but his internal clock, how the QBs, you have a certain amount of time and then get it out of the pocket. That was sped up to 1,000,000 because you have Donald and Von Miller coming on one side of the football. That reminds me of the 2015 Broncos, where they had Von Miller in his prime, DeMarcus Ware, they had Derek Wolfe, they had a lot of just studs, and I wouldn't want to be out there, so shout out to him.
I would not want to be a quarterback facing the Rams defense.
And then you have Jalen Ramsey and Eric Weddle.
Yeah, Eric Weddle came out of retirement for this game.
It was great.
Yeah, man's ring chasing.
Don't blame him. I'm surprised he enjoyed Kansas City or Tampa Bay, but more power to him.
But the Rams, look like a potential Super Bowl team. I think when you beat the Cardinals like this, it was pretty much the battle of the 2 most inconsistent teams in the league. And, one team went very, very high up, played to the best of their ability, and the other one clearly did not. So, it was also Stafford's first playoff win, which is good for him, and Odell's first playoff touchdown. So
not good luck if you're a Giants or
a game
Browns
of first for the Rams players, players that had historically been on not overly decent teams.
And do you think that Tampa Bay and LA, do you think that LA team has a chance to go down there in Tampa? And this is a weaker Tampa Bay offense going up against a really strong, and we saw this in week 3 when Tampa and LA played. LA smoked them.
Yeah.
So, it's tough to be the same team twice, especially Tom Brady. So they'll have something cooked up. But this could be a really interesting matchup. Tom Brady against the LA Rams. 0-2 last 2 years.
They definitely have the ability to beat the Bucs, especially since the Bucs are kind of depleted in some areas. But it's whether or not it's which LA Rams team is going to show up, basically.
Yeah.
They're very polarizing and kind of 2-faced. So it's whether or not the really, really good, really effective very exciting Rams team shows up, or it's the one where Matthew Stafford's making, mistakes and throwing interceptions and throwing in a triple coverage.
Yeah.
And,
The Rams Super Bowl one really is on Matthew Stafford's just brain cells at this point.
Pretty much. But yeah, we pretty much recapped all of the playoff games this weekend. I guess we're hoping that this coming weekend is a little bit more exciting.
Should be.
Football's football, but
We only got so much of it.
we only get so much of it, and it's almost over, unfortunately. But we gotta take in what we can get, and just prepare ourselves for this upcoming divisional round.
Yep, and a shout out to Hunter Johnson, who just transferred back to Clemson.
For that, but using the transfer portal.
There's your college football content today.
Yeah, former 5-star. He was, I believe, ranked higher than. Was he ranked higher than Tua? It was around the same ranking as Tua. He's 5-star. Transferring back, started his career at Clemson, transferred to Northwestern, and is now coming back to Clemson. So
Works.
Maybe he challenges Uyunglele and Cade Klubnik for that starting job.
That would be something.
Yeah, but
we'll all find out in due time. But that wraps up the show today.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
We want to thank Zach in the back, as always, for producing the show and editing and everything. We want to thank Tigervision for giving us this opportunity.
Special shout out to, if you haven't if you haven't catch up with the last episode, we are now on Spotify and working to get it to Apple Podcasts.
Yep.
But we have a couple listeners in Japan.
Yeah.
We wanted to shout out.
That's crazy.
That's just insane.
That's pretty cool.
I wanted to FaceTime earlier today. I was like, yo,
yeah,
you got to see this.
It was pretty cool to see. But so I guess we're getting worldwide reach.
Number 2
on some level, but just hoping to continue to grow. So we thank you all for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you all for listening. If you're listening on Spotify or anywhere else, and just hoping for another great weekend of football. Thank you again all for tuning in, and we'll see you all next week. Have a good one.